up your engine!
Sign of Peace says, "Hey Scotty, I'm using Shell V-Pro in my Corolla. I'm seeing better miles per gallon versus regular octane gas. What are your thoughts about it, using higher octane gas?" I'm assuming you got mileage on that Corolla. Normally, it isn't going to make any difference. It's made for regular octane gas, it'll run perfectly fine. But as any car ages, carbon builds up. That increases the compression because it's only a certain amount of space. The carbon takes up space. They will run better with high octane gas. When I was a kid, the first car I had was an Opel. Made to run on the cheapest gas possible with a little carburetor. But when I put high-test gasoline in it, it got better gas mileage because it was worn inside. So, odds are yours is a little bit worn. Doesn't hurt anything. If it runs better, go right ahead. But you could also carbon clean the engine and go back to using regular gas, which would be cheaper. Hey, Slater says, thinking about buying a new 2020 Kia Soul for 18 grand. Are they decent enough cars to last me 150,000 miles? Well, it could. They generally last at least 100,000 miles. But they are Kias. They're not as well made as the Toyotas and the Hondas. You are going to pay a lot less than you are for a Toyota or a Honda. It's your choice, you know? I mean, you definitely would get that out of a Toyota or Honda. With the Kia, you'd probably get over 100,000, but as for 150, you might be pushing a little bit there. James Stan said, Elon Musk is a super genius. He's going to be president of the United States of America. Well, I think you got two mistakes there. One, people become president not because they're smart, but because they're popular. Americans don't like smart people. And the other thing is, Elon Musk is very smart in his own little way. He's putting on a show so stock goes up so he makes money. He may be smart to be pulling the wool over people's eyes, but I doubt if he's going to run for president. I don't think he's a political guy. And I don't think he could win. Just because you got a lot of money isn't going to mean you're going to win. Look at Bloomberg. He wasted all his money, got hardly any votes because nobody liked him. So you see somebody under public scrutiny, you might not like him when you find what they're really like. I believe he was born in South Africa, and if he was, he can't be because he has to be an American to be president. Manuka Aradasa says, Scotty, what's your opinion on a Volvo S60 as a weekend toy? If you can get it cheap enough, used, it could be a fun weekend toy. If a guy like me, check it out first to make sure the engine and transmission is good, because that's where the money is. But if it was taken care of, they can be good cars and they can be fun. They're beautiful looking cars. They're zippy to drive around in. You just don't want to buy one that's got like 180,000 miles on it because it'll be on its last legs and it'll become an endless money pit. But I got a customer who drives one. She got a used one for $4 grand and it's still running okay. It's got about 90,000 now and she's been happy with it so far and she doesn't drive all that much. Jay Stevens says, crazy question. Some new cars have laminated glass like windshields on the side windows to keep them quiet. If the car goes underwater and the windows don't open, can they be broken to escape? Well, they wouldn't be a lot harder. You know what the interesting story behind that? Originally, cars had that all around because it was safer. Then in the United States, years later, they just went to the different kind, the kind that when you hit it, it breaks into little pieces because it's cheaper to make. That's the only reason they did it. They did it because it was cheaper to make them that way. Now, safety reasons of wrecks and stuff, a lot of companies and noise have gone to putting it all around again. Now, how often do you go underwater and you can't get out of your car? This isn't something that happens all that often. But yeah, it would be somewhat of a problem. But I mean, really, let's face it, it's not something that comes up all that often. Anyway, anybody, if they're trying to break in at a big sledgehammer or something, you can break anything with that. It's not like you can't. People will kick windshields out and climb out the windshield if they have to. It's not like it's, Fort Knox and you can't get out. Esquivel says, Scotty, what are your thoughts on the 5th generation V6 Camaros? Are they reliable? Well, they're as reliable as most GM products, which isn't extremely reliable as they age and get over 100,000 miles. That's the problem, and plus they're a sporty car. Guys usually drive them hard, so a lot of times they do wear out because people drive them a lot harder. I personally wouldn't buy one, and if you look at the difference between sales of Mustangs and Camaros, you'll see Ford sells tons more Mustangs than GM does Camaros, so that kind of tells you they're pretty much failures for what they're doing. I mean, they kept saying they're going to stop making them, and then they don't, and who knows? But they're not all that popular anymore. They don't last a really long time. Plus, if you check out the resale values, they're pretty low when they get to be 6, 7 years old because they're GMs. Everybody knows they're not that well made. Yo Omega says, Scotty, should have a used Infiniti 2018 Q50, 7,200 miles. Well, I got 2 questions for you. How much does it cost? And how long do you expect to keep it? The things about Infinitis are, they're fun to drive, they're fast, they're pretty luxurious. But they become endless money pits as they age, but generally not until they get 120, 130,000 miles on it. Now, if you can get that really cheap, go right ahead. But if it's only got 7,200 miles and it's 2018, odds are the guy's going to want a whole bunch of money for it. And I wouldn't, because look at the resale values, the ones that are 7, 8 years old. They're not much. So you don't want to pay a bunch for it now because it's not worth a bunch of money. They can be fun cars. If you don't mind having a car that'll last 100,000 relatively trouble-free miles, go ahead. But don't expect to get 200,000-300,000 miles out of it without a lot of problems like you could with a Toyota or Honda or a Lexus. Eduardo N.A. says, what do you think of a Toyota Matrix XRS 2003? Okay, that's a fancier one with a bigger engine in it. They're really well-made vehicles, you know, they're well-made. They're a lot more fun with a standard because they're a lot quicker, and a lot of the XRSs had standards, and they are a lot zippier. And then realize that the Matrix has an engine that's the smaller version of the engine that Lotus uses in their sports car and their small cars. The Lotus is zooped up for a lot more horsepower, but it's the same basic engine. Lotus buys their engines from Toyota. The big Lotuses have the V6 Toyota engine. The smaller ones have the 4-cylinder ones. Matrix XRSs are really nice vehicles. You know, they can last a long time. They're fun to drive. If you're looking for a compact utility vehicle, that popular CUV, everything's got an acronym on these days. Our society's gone acronym crazy. Eventually, people aren't going to say anything but CRV, TH3, N2, G32. I mean, that's all people are going to be doing. But they're great cars. Francisco Zoncale says, I got a Suzuki Grand Vitara 09 reliable. Not a single problem since I got it, 114,000 miles. I've got customers of those Grand Vitaras, and they just fell apart because they drove them hard. And they really do burn out quickly if you strain them. But, like in your case, I'd have customers with them that got good mileage because they babied them. They didn't drive them hard. They changed the oil 3,000 to 5,000 miles. And the ones that got a standard transmission, I expect them to last longer. The automatic transmissions are quite weak. They're not that good. So I'm assuming you probably got a standard transmission in it too. But yeah, if you baby them, you baby anything, you know, except for a Fiat or a Chrysler, which are going to fall apart anyways, you generally get some mileage out of a car. Mark A says, hey Scotty, do you recommend the Right Stuff or Honda OEM sealer to reseal the tensioner and inspection plate cover on the 16 Honda Accord Sport? Oh, the Right Stuff is great. It's Permatex, the Right Stuff. It is the best gasket sealer I've ever seen in my life. Now, it's not cheap. It comes in a tube and it costs quite a bit of money, but it seals. You put it on, you make it snug, that's it. You can drive away. You don't even have to wait. The stuff is so well made. It is expensive, and the one problem with it is it has no shelf life. So once you use it, you better use it as much as you can, because in a few months or sometimes a few weeks, it'll harden inside the tube and you can't use it anymore. But man, it is the best sealer out there as far as I'm concerned. Diego Perez Duran says, do you like the new Bronco? I can't say. They're not out yet driving. I haven't had a customer buy one. I haven't tried one out yet. You know, I only tell you if I like something after I've either worked on it and driven it or get one for a week from the manufacturers, try it out and see what I think. Because I don't do any of this fantasy, well, oh, it's fantastic. It's the greatest thing since sliced bread. I don't know. I haven't had my hands on one yet. If I get my hands on one, I'll tell you. And of course, the problem with you say the new Bronco, there's a whole bunch of styles you can get, so I'd have to try them all out. Big ones, little ones, you know, and you'd want to try them all out, see what's the advantage. Maybe the little ones are too slow. Maybe the big ones are too top heavy. I don't know. I got to get them and try them out. So if you're listening, Ford, send me a bunch of them. I'll try them out. If you dare to send them to me. Open Rank says, why aren't you dead yet? Probably 90% Germanic, and Germans tend to be hard built and last a long time. My great-grandfather died in his sleep when he was 95. Now, my father died when he was like 87, but on the other hand, he drank, smoked like a demon, he was extremely overweight, and he still lasted all that long. And my mother's 93 and she's still going strong. So, and my wife tries to make me eat right, so that'll probably make me last longer. I like exercise and I still ice skate. Used to play ice hockey. You got to stay active. And the other thing is, you got to keep your mind active too. If you don't, you will be dead. My grandfather was also a mechanic. On my father's side, he was a mechanic till he was like 86. My father shut down the garage. Within a year and a half, he was dead. Because he was bored. He wasn't doing anything. He didn't keep his mind active. Well, I keep mine active, so sad to tell you, I might be around for another 40 years. Who knows? So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.